The time is just gone 9:52 as we continue with the broadcast this morning, and we end off taking a look at events that are going to be held at a number of cities around the country in honor of the journalist Virgil's in solidarity with the journalists in Gaza, and this is taking place on the 28th of January. It's taking place in Johannesburg, Cape Town, Durban, and we talk of Makanda Road University as well. And this is clear, and we've seen it over and over again. We've actually seen some publications with a roll of honor or a scroll of honor of journalists killed while covering the Israeli Gaza war that has been taking place. And more reporters, this has been unprecedented, where more reporters have been killed in Gaza in 3 months than all of World War II or even in the Vietnam War. And we know how long those wars had actually taken. And this is how serious the situation is. And we've seen solidarity with the journalists come through from right across the entire world. And this morning we are talking with the organizer for the Vigil of four journalists in Johannesburg. We're talking with Deshnee Subramany. Deshnee, good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Yes, clearly, Deshnee, this is unacceptable. We've seen journalists, and I think, this has actually shocked the world of journalism, the unprecedented killing of journalists, and this obviously symbolizes a lot in terms of how brutal this war is, how brutal this genocide is unfolding, where even journalists have not been left alone.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment we are seeing numbers that, as you said, you've already touched on, supersede the 6 years of World War II. And that really is a number that drives it home for us, where we are seeing journalists, they have told us themselves that they are being targeted. They have told us, we have seen the reports on TV ourselves of them losing their families all in one go. They are being bombed where they are sleeping. They are being bombed in refugee camps. So, we are quite worried that this could be and really is a targeted assault on journalists. So, this is where our concern comes in as concerned journalists. And that's really what we want to tell authorities and the world at the moment that, this is absolutely unacceptable and we cannot have it.
Yes, now the events that are taking place across the country, and this is quite significant as well, that, we're not limiting it only to one city, but right across the entire country simultaneously, four cities have been targeted. And let's just talk a bit more about this Virgil and this event and how significant this event is going to be, Deshni.
Mm. Yeah, so the four cities were, they came together and they decided. We put out a call and we just had a lot of great input and feedback from the people in these particular cities. It is quite tough for journalists in who are not in main cities to be able to organize as well. So we do understand why it wasn't in every single province. But this is meant to be a national movement. We are hoping to observe our moment of silence at 6:30 around the country all together. So we will each have our own program, but at 6:30 together nationally, we will all have our moment of silence for those we have lost. It's quite an exciting event in that it is exciting that so many journalists have come together to stand up for our colleagues. Our document where we have set out our statement of intent has over 300 signatures already, and this is mostly journalists, but also includes our supporters like educators, chefs, writers, everyone. And so that's quite it's quite amazing to see how much solidarity we are receiving for our colleagues in Palestine.
Yes, and also it's not only about our colleagues as journalists in Palestine. It's about not only the journalists but also their family members. And we've seen horrific accounts, and we've heard of horrific stories about journalists and their family members as well. That have been killed and that have been brutally, you know, I would say, bombed into the Stone Age as well. So the families also have been on the receiving end. So it's not only about journalists, it's about an entire population. It's anybody that's associated also with these journalists.
Specifically, yeah, journalist families, and this comes back to the targeting. A lot of journalists have told us that they have received threatening calls that and we've seen on live television. I mean, we can't deny we also wild situation where he was on air when he heard that he lost his whole family. So, I mean, he's lost his wife, he has lost his children, he has lost quite a lot, and he's not the only one. We have seen Mutaz Azai's just put down his press vest just this week, which was, quite an emotional time for us because, journalists don't leave the scene. And just thinking of the kind of situation that he's been in, I mean, we don't know what it's like. We haven't been in a war, but just thinking about the emotions he must be feeling just to leave and evacuate because things are so dangerous for him and his family that he cannot do his job. And this basically feeds into, censorship, essentially. If you are removing, the eyes of war, then who benefits? And, what is it for, really, at the end of the day?
Yes, in fact, you talk of Mutas Aziz, and really, I've seen the video as well. Very, very emotional. And at the end of the day, that final video that he has actually put out, actually, and I think that will resonate with people and with journalists worldwide because it does make a very, very profound statement. It makes a very, very powerful statement in terms of journalism and how journalists have actually been targeted. Let's just also understand. Okay, the Virgil is going to be there. Is there anything else that is actually planned during the course of these events around the country, Deshnee?
Yes. So each city will have its own program. At the Johannesburg program, we will have a panel discussion where we will have journalists of different ages having a conversation about where journalism leaves us today. So, people and the public generally ask us to remove ourselves from objectivity, or the concept of objectivity. And we want to explore, what does journalism look like if that is something that we were to take on. The concept of objectivity in journalism is not that everyone is objective. We all know that everyone is a human being. We have inherent biases. That is just how it works. But the point of objectivity is that despite all our biases, we are able to approach our content in an objective manner. We know the questions we need to ask to be able to balance out what we need to know. We know the questions that we shouldn't ask to be able to create any preconceived ideas into the public's mind. So we are going to be talking about how we can actually do that better, if there's a better way that we can do that, and how we can actually move journalism forward. So we'll be doing that along with a prayer, a moment of silence, and we will also have a banner for people to just come and sign their names and messages of hope and support for our colleagues in Palestine. And not just our colleagues in Palestine, we are also speaking directly to our colleagues in Sudan as well as in the Democratic Republic of Congo. You'll be hearing from journalists from these areas, also at the vigil. So yeah, that's quite something to look out for.
Yes, I think I just want to touch just briefly now that you raised this whole issue surrounding being objective and objectivity, and I think as journalists, and I think also for us here at Salam Media, we've been obviously relentless in our coverage since this entire genocide has actually started. And I'll tell you what, it actually makes it difficult sometimes because at the end of the day, it's about your humanity as well. So whether you are a journalist or not, at the end of the day, irrespective of who you are, it is about your humanity. It is about standing up to truth. It is about speaking out, speaking truth to power as well. It is about justice. It is about a value system. And as journalists, these are value systems that many journalists, right across the entire world, hold on to, subscribe to as well. And at the same time, one also needs to understand that you are up against media moguls. You are up against media right across the entire world, powerful corporate media organizations. And we've seen throughout the coverage of this war, in terms of where some of this bias actually lies, we've seen what has happened to journalists that have actually pushed a certain narrative, who were taken out, who were removed. Now, all of this put together makes it extremely difficult for a journalist who is ethical, who is standing up, who is speaking truth to power, who wants to stand for justice. All of this makes it very, very difficult for journalists to actually come up and remain objective, where we see major corporate media and the behavior of journalists in some of the corporate media that we've been exposed to.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the book's editor of the New York Times resign over coverage in the New York Times of the situation in Palestine, the conflict there. We have seen a reporter in Australia who was fired for posting a pro Palestine message on social media. So, definitely, there is especially internationally, there seems to be a kind of disagreement about how this can be handled. So we are, as South Africans, we're in a very privileged position where we have more freedom than most places in the world to be able to say what we feel and stand up for what we believe is right. And in this case, we are standing by our colleagues in Palestine, in Sudan, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and we are asking and demanding, in fact, that they are able to do their jobs in a fair way.
Well, Deshnee, thank you very much for that and for coming on and for sharing what you have with us. We have got the post as well. We will continue promoting this Virgil, and we pray that many people will attend these Virgils. One taking place at Mary Fitzgerald Square in Johannesburg, St George's Cathedral out in Cape Town, University of KwaZulu Natal, the Howard Campus Durban, and the Drosty Arch Roads University in Makanda, and all of this taking place on the 28th of January at 6 p.m. in solidarity with journalists in Gaza. And we encourage people to attend these venues wherever you are. But for now, Deshnee, we thank you. We do appreciate you taking time out and talking to us right here on Salam Media this morning. All the best to you, and we hope all goes well at the Vigil as well.
Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you there.
Thank you. Yes, Deshnee Subramany with us, organizer for the Vigil for journalists in Johannesburg, with us this morning. And with that, we've come to the end of this morning's broadcast. Tomorrow, all eyes will be at 2 p.m. South African time at The Hague. And this is where the ICJ, where the judges issue their ruling. We've learned that Dr. Naledi Pandor will be making her way to be present in The Hague tomorrow. This is a huge interest from right across the entire world. And South Africa, once again, in the spotlight at The Hague, as South Africa has brought up this case against the state of Israel. Next up is going to be just 14, Sheikh Tawfiq Ibn Sair. And with that, from myself and the team, here at Salam Media, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.